Okay, so we've reached basically we've gotten to the point where we're going to be talking about our final video. I'm doing my final video basically. Okay, so we had talked about how modern agriculture, it's done its job. It's done its job. We've been able to feed the world, but at what cost? And where are we going with these things like the genetically modified organisms? Now, the problem that we have is we had said that this modern agriculture, it's heavily dependent on oil. And we know oil will run out. It doesn't matter. I mean, yes, we continue to find new sources of oil and gas, such as the shale that's around here, but the Marcellus shale gas fields. But the bottom line is that's not going to last forever, no matter what. So there's a lot of people who are going back, and they're saying, how can we do this in a sustainable manner? This is kind of where we began this whole course, right? We talked about sustainability, meeting the needs of today without sacrificing the needs of future generations. So how do we do that in farming? Well, we had said, what's important in farming? You got to keep your soil. We talked about the different layers of soil. We've said that A horizon, the top soil, that's the important one. That is the one that is going to feed the world. And so we've got to hang on to that. And so how do you hang on to that soil when you've got a plant? Now, every time you go through the fields with something that's cutting the soil, you're going to lose some to water erosion. So there are some ways to deal with this. Instead of plowing up and down a hill so that the furrows are facing up and downhill where water can run downhill, there's a thing called contour plowing or contour farming, and you plow around the sides of the field, working your way to the top. That's one way of doing it. Or you could build on a hilly area, and we're talking about an area like here, like around western Pennsylvania. Or you could cut in these flat areas, and you rarely see that here in America, but in Asia, it's a common way of flattening out a hillside so that you have these small flat fields that are called terraces. So, and in both cases, they're going to help retain the soil. And that's, we'd said, these are ways that you can sustainably work to produce agriculture, in this case, protecting the soil. Now, related to the contour plowing, we have this issue of farmers are realizing you don't have to go through the fields over and over again. They're realizing that if you have the right equipment, and again, this is what gives us trouble in agriculture, is people don't make any money in agriculture. But if you have the money, you can buy equipment that'll allow you to plant in the what's left over from the crop last year. And this type of farming involves what we call no-till planting. And it's not really no-till because you actually go through once, you do plant. But that's it. You don't do all of the other stuff to the field. And the roots from last year's crop keep you from losing the soil. Now, because farmers don't always have the best equipment, there are various levels of reduced tilling, and that means fewer and fewer times going through the fields. And so we talk about minimal till or conserve till farming. It's all leading to the sort of holy grail of tilling, no-till. The holy grail of tilling is where you only go through the field once. And so in both of those cases, this is the best way with, contour farming, no-till with contour farming is the best way to hang on to the soil that you've got. And that's part of this whole sustainability thing. So with sustainable farming, so if you say, well, what exactly is sustainable farming? It's basically old-time farming. It's like your grandpa did. So going back before the days of all this synthetic fertilizer and so forth. So just think about it. If that farmer is spending a third, buying expensive synthetic fertilizer, it's expensive because it uses a lot of energy to make, and he's having to put it on his fields with his machinery, so he's got expensive machines, and then he's having to water all of that. What you can do is you can eliminate a whole lot of that, and so you reduce your cost, so you're not having to pay for all of that fuel. Yes, you will produce less, but you're not using energy that for the making of this synthetic fertilizer. So sustainable farming is kind of going back to the old days. And it's not pie in the eye. It's not something that I'm making up that hasn't been done. There are people out there, and there's the Sandhill Farm is an example. If you want to click on the food and community at Sandhill Farms, this is actually a commune. It's, because these are idealists. So these are modern day people like from the 60s who are still out there doing this stuff. But it's an example of how you can get by on a lot less. And really and truly, so you can, if you change your attitude, you say, I don't have to milk 500 cows, I'll milk 40, but I'll have lower expenses, so I'll make about the same amount of money, and I'll produce a very healthy, wholesome food product that I can sell locally for better money. People want healthy food, and it's very hard to find. So there's a real movement towards this. And so in order to support this, our very final thing we're going to talk about is being a locavore. That's not an insult, by the way. But it is. What is a locavore? It sounds like I'm calling you names. I'm not. A locavore is someone who eats locally. So if you think about it, if in winter you just love your tomato sandwiches, well, you're buying tomatoes from the southern hemisphere. And so if you change your mindset to where if you want to eat tomatoes in winter, you better put them up in cans or something, so that you can eat them then, if you're a locavore, that is. And so what you do is you buy things locally when they are in season, and then you don't have all that transportation. Can you imagine bringing the food from wherever? It's got to cost a lot, and it uses a huge amount of energy. So it's a mindset, and it's basically what the sort of the big catch-all category that would associate with it would be organic. Organic farming, that kind of thing, is sustainable farming. And if you buy organically grown stuff locally, you too are a locavore. Hey, that's it. Have a great summer. Stay safe. It's been fun. It's been a weird semester, I have to admit, for me, and I know for you too. So I wish you well. Bye.